So here's a quest, something we're questing in. Question: what is experience, and how do we have them? How is experience occurring for you, for me, for everyone? What is the nature of experience? So I'd just like to give some attention to this and invite you to come on a little inquiry with me to explore experience and what this means for you personally, and what this might mean for your way of comprehending, understanding, experiencing the reality that you're living in. So, we often talk about having an experience. So when you use the word having, there's an implication of some kind of ownership. And in this regard, that sentence, having an experience, is a bit of a noun. It's a bit of an object. It's like I'm having that experience of going to the football match, watching the person singing on the stage, traveling to another country. I'm having it. I'm getting it. It's like it's something I've gone into, something I've got, something which is now belongs to me in another realm which we call memory. It's like we catalogue our experiences, and we can refer back to them. We can tell stories about them. But all this them is referring to experience as an object. Okay, so that's the first point I want to communicate. Having an experience is somehow having some kind of objectified experience. But let's look, the word having is a verb, is a doing, is a process. Right? So I'm having the process of experiencing this object. Right? So let's look at that. Having as a verb. So that suggests that there is someone or something having the experience of this particular thing, relationship, travel adventure, meal, whatever the experience is. And there's a million varieties of possible experiences, as we all know, in this realm of creation. But the having of experience is suggesting that there is an experiencer. Okay, I know this is incredibly obvious, but I just want to go slowly with this so we can start to see all the nuances in the whole dance of the nature of experience. So what we're beginning to identify here is experience is an object, is a noun, is a thing. Yeah, it's got some content to it. It's got some, something you're going to learn, something you're going to enjoy, some kind of relationship, some kind of engagement with a objectified thing, person, situation, thought, emotion. These are all also nouns, objects, because they contain experiences. And the second phase we're just exploring here is having the experience. Right? So there's a verb, something is occurring. It wasn't there and now it is. So there's movement in time, in space. There's a journey occurring. There's a verb. So there's a doing of experience. There's an engagement with it. It's not a static process. Yeah? So you're not experiencing these objects as if they're static, not moving in some kind of vacuum or void. Yeah? And then there's the obvious implication that somebody or something is having the experience. Okay, so let's look at that stage of this inquiry, okay? So right now, I'm talking, you're listening, and who's the you who's having the experience of me talking? Yeah, so me talking is some kind of objectified noun, experience, thing for you. The listening process is the doing. Yeah, you're engaging through this kind of movement of listening, new thoughts, new ideas, new expressions, new tone of voice, movement of the head. There's all sorts of doings happening within this content of the experience. But there's a you over there, right now, listening right now, processing this and engaging with this. And maybe you're making sense or resisting it, or it triggers off other thought forms or feelings. Who knows what's happening on your side, okay? But there is some experiencer over there. Okay. Now on this side, there's also the experiencer, me, who's delivering the experience. So we've got loads of things going on here. We've got two experiences, me the transmitter, you the listener. There's both of us doing something. I'm doing the talking, you're doing the listening. Maybe you're also doing some internal talking as you're thinking about what I'm saying. And then there's the content itself. We're talking about the subject called experience. So there's lots of layers to this. And I find it very interesting to begin to explore what is really occurring. And we can call it the field. Field is a sort of scientific term which is referring to the whole space of what's happening. It's like a realm or a domain of communication right now. Okay, so we're in the domain of communication, and we're exploring in this domain of communication what is the nature of experience, how is it occurring, and who is it occurring for. Alright, so you just take a breath. Alright, so just reminding us, the breath is the thing, taking it is the verb, and you is the experiencer of the breath. Just so we've really got all of this, you go to a restaurant, you have some food, say order some food. So in this situation, the food is the thing, the eating of the food is your doing of it, and you eating, digesting, is the one having the experience of the food. Okay, so it's a 3-stage process. Experiencer, the act of doing, and the thing that you're having or doing it to or with. Okay? 3 stages to observe in the whole dance of the reality of experience. Just consider the infinite variety of perceptions of any given event, any given experience. Okay, so it might be that there's 20 people listening to this right now, or listen to it over the next few weeks, or however long it takes for people to engage if they're interested. Each of these people, each of you, when you're listening, are going to be listening from a different place. Listening from a different place in your life. Some of you young, some old, some in crisis, some in joy. You know, where are you listening from when you're hearing these words? And to consider also that where you're listening from also creates a filter. It's a bit like wearing some kind of orange glasses between what is actually being said and what you're hearing. So your listening from place filters what you're hearing. So without even meaning to, you might be prejudging this. It's like, oh, I've heard all this before, or this is similar to a book I read or a course I went to. And this creates a preconceived filter, which means that maybe you're not as fully freshly listening in the present moment as you could do. It's not said as a judgment, just observing what we often do. We filter our listening so we don't get the full impact of what's been offered. In the same way, we sometimes filter our approach to meeting friends or lovers or the workplace or a creative project. We filter it with thoughts like, I can't do this, or nobody's going to like me, or it's going to go horribly wrong, or I'm not worthy of this. These kind of thought form filters get in the way of having the direct experience. And this is something I also want to bring into this conversation about the nature of reality or the nature of experiences that you're having, is that in the pure form, there's an object, there's a thing, there's a doing of or relationship with the object, and there's somebody receiving and experiencing that whole journey. Okay, so that seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? There's the tree, you're walking towards it, and you're experiencing the tree. Now, what gets in the way of the direct experience is what we filter, what we project, what we assume, what we judge, what we believe. Our preconditioned assumptions about reality that we superimpose onto the things that we are about to experience. So we've distorted the clean, pure, innocent, radiant connection with what is actually here in presence. And sometimes we do this unconsciously, sometimes we are rigorously determined not to believe something or not to see something. So it's quite a conscious process sometimes, these filters. That often occurs as righteousness It's like, I'm right about this, what you're saying is wrong, it's got no validity, no value for me. And it's really quite a conscious, willful pushing away of newness. This occurs in judgment, okay? When people quite harshly judge things. And maybe you've been on the receiving end of that or the giving end of that. We've probably been in both positions. My invitation for myself, for you, for everybody, is to consider a clean relationship with experience, which is not preconditioned, filtered, prejudging. Yeah. Maybe a little bit, because we're obviously hardwired and culturally manipulated, and all these kind of things which happen through our upbringing, which creates certain symbols and language forms and ways of seeing and perceiving the world. So I don't think it's realistic to suddenly take away all the filters, because then we'd be seeing white light to white light. We'd see from emptiness to emptiness, and we'd have no reference points necessarily to communicate as human beings. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the filters. I'm just saying if we want to get clearer and clearer and clearer into the connection with what the objects of the experience that we're having, then we also need to be present to, what are we superimposing onto this? And how is that distorting the experience? At a very everyday level, very ordinary level, it's raining, and for a child in their wellies, in the puddles, they're jumping up and down, happy as Larry. It's a beautiful day, for them, and the rain is just causing excitement and playfulness and joy. For another person, it's a miserable grey day. Another person, they're getting wet and it's amplifying their illness. Everyone is perceiving the rain differently. But the rain is just coming down, okay? Without judgment, but without an opinion, without I'm going to get you or even bring you joy. It's not got preferences. It's unconditionally just raining. And we modify that rain according to our personal subjective interpretation of the rain. So we are manipulating the experience to conform to where we are living from and perceiving from. So if we're already a pretty miserable person, chances are the rain's going to be more miserable for us. If we're already joyful, ecstatic, playful kind of person, chances are the rain's going to be more spontaneous, joyful, ecstatic for us. What we are bringing to experience influences the experience. Now, this was often referred to in physics again as the observer effect. The observer affects the observed. And so for me, this is very normal. This is often happening. Our interpretation of what we're experiencing is going to transform the experience. What is being observed, what is being experienced. And my invitation is to get more and more and more present to the unconscious filters that we've been superimposing onto the things of our daily life, and to see if we can identify them and release them, and then start to get more into a direct engagement with what is actually here. And we can make the distinction here between a reaction, which I'm going to say is like an unconscious reaction, something which just reacts on a trigger of association to past experiences and is superimposed onto the present moment, and a response which is much more clean, it's more felt, it's more presently engaged, it's more alive, it's more here and now. So to releasing more of the reactions that we may have in life, the superimpositions, the judgments, opinions and assumptions, and coming back to a more heartful, relaxed way of naturally seeing the things of the life experience. So I think I'm just going to round up here. I could carry on, but I think this is enough for this particular inquiry now. Just to summarize. So what we began with was experience as a noun, as an object, a thing. There is a doing of, or having of. There's a verb. There's some kind of mobility and action to engage with this object of experience. And then there is somebody or something, an awareness, a presence, an identity, having the experience. Okay, we call this the experiencer. And the last part, the fourth part of this inquiry, was to consider whether the experiencer is preconditioning their experience and superimposing past beliefs onto the present moment, filtering, colouring, and distorting what is being given here and now by past held belief systems. And to go into an inquiry to make a distinction between what we're reacting from, what is unconsciously there, and to engage more in a responsive, present way of being in the life experience itself. Thank you very much for experiencing these 15 minutes with me. Thank you for staying on and listening. Hope it's been very useful. If you want to comment, please do. If you want to make contact with me, ask a question, please do. It's like I love sharing this kind of thing, these realizations, these insights. In my personal experience, the more we actually explore what's happening in the reality of our life, the more power we have with it, the more freedom we have with it, the more creativity we have with it, and the more joy we have with it, and many other beautiful, nourishing, enlivening dimensions of the experience. So I really highly recommend inquiry, turning over every rock, looking underneath, asking questions, examining, so that you start to really be the owner of your experiences and your way of seeing the experience. So thank you very much for listening, and wishing you a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.